cause. Joining me now is Kara Swisher. She is the executive editor of the technology news website Recode. Kara, nice to see you.
Thank you, and Chuck.
All right, let's start with the president's accusation, and then I want to go to something that I think he's touching on that actually is relevant to this conversation. So obviously he's going after Google, and it's all part. This is, Steve Bannon ranted about this a long time ago.
And he did
Big
some last
tech.
week.
Right.
He did a bunch last week, and he's done it to Amazon Washington Post.
That's right. He is. Part of it is maybe he doesn't understand the tech world.
No.
But I think that's a big part of it. But the other part of it, it just feels ironic. Is he saying that you guys must stink because I was able to manipulate your system and look what I did? I mean, I don't mean to be that cynical. But is there any basis to his attack?
No, none whatsoever. And I'm not one to defend the tech industry. You know that. I'm very particular about certain things they've done, and I'm very interested in these hearings next week where a lot of the leaders are going to come and some of the problems they had with Cambridge Analytica and things like that. But in this case, he's completely wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I want to go to that State of the Union attack, because this is the problem that's happening on social media. The irony is, it's basically Twitter has allowed this to happen, whether they like it or not. Their platform's been used for this, which is, and it's been regularly done. Matt Gaetz is a congressman that has done this. Kevin McCarthy's a congressman that's done this, where they retweet stuff that they say this is how they're biased against conservatives, but it turns out to be fake accusations, like the fake accusation about the State of the Union, all these false accusations.
Yeah, but it's beyond.
But it gets like 32,000 retweets or 50,000 likes, so people still believe it.
Well, I wrote a column in the New York Times saying this is codswallop. I tried to find a word that you could look up on Google very easily. But the fact of the matter is, conservative voices are very loud on social media. So are liberal voices. So are crazy voices. So are comedians, and so is everyone. And this particular group of people has actually been advantaged by it because they were largely left out of the mainstream media until Fox News came along. Now they have all these platforms to discuss things on, and there's been this sort of online rage fest among them that they are not heard. And I mean, the line I use is the people that talk loudest about not being heard never shut up. And I think we can all agree that Donald Trump uses Twitter quite a bit.
One of the mistakes we in the mainstream media made during when these false accusations against us being biased for 40 years happened is we started believing, oh, maybe we are biased. And we got to, oh, wait, we can't look biased. So then we created a lot of false equivalency issues. Okay. It looks to me like Silicon Valley's about to fall into that trap. How do they not fall into that trap?
By ignoring it completely. Look at what Jeff Bezos is doing every time he comes after him. He just doesn't say a word. I think Google has to just say this is not true and move along and stuff like that. And obviously there, again, are issues that all these companies should face, of things they've done, but not this one.
All right, but I want to get at an issue that I actually thought Steve Bannon addressed he ranted at the end, but he actually, I thought, touched on something that I've gotten into, which is who's going to regulate the algorithms?
Right.
At the end of the day, they're not wrong that these algorithms, none of us know what we have. They have all of our information. Steve Bannon made a recommendation that I didn't think was a bad one, which was, should our info at least be in a public trust of some sort that they can access all the time, and we get that. But I buy what he's talking about there. At some point, we have to figure out how to regulate the algorithm so at least we know if they're being abused.
Well, no, that's the problem, is you can't do that. Then make Google an entity of the government?
No, you wouldn't make it an entity of the government.
It's called the Russian government.
But well, then how do we regulate an algorithm?
We don't. We don't, because they're big companies and they're the ones in charge. Just the way CBS used to be in charge of the airwaves.
Okay, but if Google writes an algorithm that somehow directs, or let me do it a better one. Let's say one of the
Facebook or anything.
No, Monster.com, like an employment site, and their algorithm seems to always leave out people of color,
right?
As your job applicants. But that's my point. How do you? They could say, oh, we just wrote an algorithm. We didn't know it was going to do that.
Right. Well, I think the problem is who's making these things. That's one of the big issues being discussed in Silicon Valley, like AI. There's the old expression, crap in, crap out. And so, if certain people are only the ones designing that, what happens? But that's been the internet. The internet has largely been designed by the same small group of people. That still doesn't mean that you should have a government entity regulating any of that.
All right, but let me go to a consumer thing. Okay. And so I want to know that I am being treated as a consumer equally in the state of Texas as I am in the state of North Dakota.
Yeah.
And if an Amazon algorithm decides, boy, in Texas you have more money, you can afford to pay this because I know this by where you live and all this stuff in the North. Boy, I'm getting, that's not fair as a consumer.
Well, that's called marketing and retail for the past 100 years.
No,
so I don't
well,
know,
on one hand, I get it, but on
yeah.
the other hand,
Yeah.
if it's unfair practices, how is it that we're going to get, well, why shouldn't it?
Why shouldn't it be? Well, here's the thing. Privacy issues, yes. I think there's probably going to be a privacy bill, especially if the Democrats come into power. I'm absolutely certain there'll be some sort of, there's been one in California that's been somewhat controversial, but there will be a national privacy bill at some point, given all these issues.
Is it going to look like Europe?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think U.S. regulators have ever been as strong as the ones in Europe. But again, there's an international issues too, because the Europeans are doing something different. The Chinese will do something different. Everyone around the world in a global society will do something different. What's
next week going to look like for Twitter and Facebook?
I don't know. It depends on who shows up. I mean, if we get Jack Dorsey and Sheryl Sandberg, now there's been calls to bring in Larry Page, who was one of the founders of Google. It probably will be Sundar Pichai. I think they're going to quiz them. I hope they don't quiz them on all this, whether conservatives can speak up or whether anybody can speak up. They should talk about issues of the meddling in the elections. They should talk about privacy. They should talk about how did their platforms get hijacked by the Russian government. These are critical issues, not whether Donald Trump is loud enough on the internet, which I think he is. I feel he has plenty.
I was just going to say, the internet has been good to Donald Trump.
That's what I said. Donald Trump should send tech a gold embossed thank you note for the things that it has done, giving him tools and all kinds of ways to get in office.
Right. So, I guess.
You want me to regulate?
No. But does the industry, is it ready to come and say, hey, look, we know we've gotten this big and we need help figuring X out?
Right.
Are they ready to at least do that with government?
I think they have to engage more with government, but as you saw from the Zuckerberg hearings, the politicians really are almost clueless about technology. And it was embarrassing. And everyone used to say, oh, Mark did really well. I said, well, it's a very low bar. So no, he didn't, but they did badly.
I would love Mr. Zuckerberg to come here.
Well, I will ask him.
And I would, no, they haven't. Like, none of them will. I would love to be quizzed by some of those members of Congress, too.
Yeah, I would like some members of Congress who actually know something about technology to do the quizzing, but that's,
I think it's time to let them staffers do the quizzing and all. Do you expect any sort of, I think Donald Trump Jr. said, we're going to have a conservative alternative. Is that even plausible out there?
Sure,
I mean,
go
let's
ahead.
be realistic.
Can do it. It's a big wide internet.
Right, but is there anybody out there that actually could do it?
There was rumors of Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon getting together. I keep hearing them getting together and creating their own. I'm sure there'll be a digital element to it if they do it. There's all kinds of rumors around that. Obviously, Fox News has digital elements. Are you kidding? There's so many conservative publications on the internet now. Breitbart, all the others. The internet's been very, very good to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they should complain quite so much.
I think their biggest complaint is called capitalism.
Yeah.
Kara Swisher, thanks for coming on. Much appreciated. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.